Elizabeth Taylor was born on February 27, 1932, in London to American parents, and her life was shaped early by movement, ambition, and attention. When her family relocated to California during World War II, Hollywood quickly noticed her striking appearance and natural confidence. At just 9 years old, she signed her first studio contract, stepping into a world that rarely paused to consider childhood boundaries. Fame arrived swiftly, and with it came expectations far beyond her years. Films like National Velvet introduced her as both innocent and remarkably self-possessed, a combination the public found irresistible. Yet beneath the admiration was a child learning adulthood in public, guided more by studio schedules than personal choice. This early exposure shaped Taylor's resilience, but it also placed her in environments dominated by older power figures, a reality that would later fuel gossip, speculation, and long-lasting myths about her private life. Rising stardom and the weight of adult perception. By her teenage years, Elizabeth Taylor had become a household name, praised not only for her talent, but also for a physical maturity the media exaggerated relentlessly. Hollywood in the 1940s and 1950s often blurred the line between youth and adulthood, and Taylor was frequently described in ways that stripped her of age-appropriate innocence. Studios marketed her as glamorous long before she had the freedom to define herself, creating a public image that invited adult attention and intrusive curiosity. This framing would later be used to justify unfair narratives about her behavior, ignoring the imbalance of power surrounding her. While Taylor continued to deliver strong performances, the industry increasingly treated her less as a developing artist and more as a symbol. That imbalance, rarely questioned at the time, laid the foundation for decades of rumor that focused less on her work and more on imagined versions of her personal life, career triumphs that defined a generation. As Elizabeth Taylor transitioned into adulthood, her artistic achievements became impossible to dismiss. Films such as A Place in the Sun, Giant, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof showcased her emotional depth and command of the screen. She was no longer simply a former child star, but a dominant leading lady capable of carrying complex roles. Her performance in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf earned her a second Academy Award and cemented her legacy as a serious actress willing to confront uncomfortable truths. These successes came during periods of intense personal pressure, proving her commitment to her craft despite relentless scrutiny. Taylor's work resonated because it reflected lived intensity, not scandal. While public attention often drifted toward her private life, her films remain enduring evidence that her true power lay in her artistry, discipline, and emotional intelligence. Love, marriage, and public obsession. Elizabeth Taylor's marriages became cultural events, often overshadowing her professional accomplishments. She married 8 times to 7 men, each relationship dissected by tabloids hungry for spectacle. From her brief marriage to Conrad Hilton to deeper bonds with Michael Wilding and Mike Todd, her romantic life unfolded under constant judgment. Todd's sudden death devastated her, leaving emotional scars that shaped later choices. Her highly publicized marriage to Richard Burton became emblematic of passion and volatility, with the media framing their relationship as dramatic entertainment. Yet behind the headlines was a woman seeking stability and understanding in a world that rarely granted privacy. Taylor's relationships were complex, human, and imperfect, but they were often reduced to caricature. The public fascination said as much about society's appetite for scandal as it did about Taylor herself. Rumors, power, and the cost of silence. Among the most persistent stories surrounding Elizabeth Taylor were rumors linking her to powerful political figures, including future U.S. presidents. These accounts, largely based on secondhand claims and sensational biographies, have never been proven and should be approached with caution. What is often overlooked is the broader context. A young actress navigating environments dominated by older, influential men in an era that rarely protected young women. Rather than focusing on unverified details, it is more responsible to recognize how fame, youth, and power imbalance created situations ripe for speculation. Taylor herself rarely confirmed such stories, understanding how easily narratives could be twisted. Over time, gossip hardened into myth, repeated so often it appeared factual. These rumors reveal less about Taylor's character and more about how society historically normalized intrusive storytelling at the expense of truth and dignity. Media narratives and misplaced responsibility. Elizabeth Taylor was frequently portrayed as provocative and assertive from a young age, a narrative that unfairly shifted responsibility away from adults around her. Descriptions of her as unusually mature were used to rationalize inappropriate attention, rather than question the systems that allowed it. Modern perspectives recognize how damaging such portrayals can be, especially when applied retrospectively without accountability. Taylor's confidence was real, but confidence does not equal consent, nor does it erase age or power differences. Many stories told decades later blurred these distinctions, often sensationalizing moments while ignoring context. The result was a legacy clouded by insinuation rather than understanding. Re-examining these narratives today allows for a more ethical interpretation, one that acknowledges her agency without dismissing the responsibilities of those who held greater influence during her formative years. Motherhood and the search for stability. Despite public chaos, Elizabeth Taylor was deeply devoted to her children. She raised 3 biological children and later adopted a daughter, fiercely guarding their privacy whenever possible. Motherhood grounded her, offering purpose beyond fame and romantic turmoil. Taylor worked hard to create emotional safety for her family, even when her own life felt unstable. She understood the cost of growing up under constant scrutiny and sought to shield her children from similar pressures. In quieter moments away from cameras, she prioritized presence, loyalty, and protection. Those close to her often described her as nurturing and intensely protective. While the public saw excess and drama, her children experienced a mother determined to give them what she herself rarely had: security, affection, and the freedom to define their own identities away from relentless judgment. Health battles and public courage. Behind Elizabeth Taylor's glamorous image was a lifetime of serious medical challenges. Beginning in her 20s, she endured repeated illnesses, accidents, and surgeries that would have sidelined many others. Chronic pain, spinal injuries, pneumonia, and addiction shaped much of her adult life, forcing her into hospitals dozens of times. Rather than hiding these struggles, Taylor eventually spoke openly, particularly about addiction, helping to reduce stigma at a time when few public figures dared to do so. Her decision to seek treatment publicly demonstrated courage and accountability. Even as her health declined, she remained active in humanitarian work, especially HIV/AIDS advocacy. These battles revealed a different kind of strength, one defined not by perfection, but by persistence in the face of relentless physical and emotional hardship. Legacy beyond scandal and myth. Elizabeth Taylor died on March 23, 2011, at the age of 79, leaving behind a legacy far richer than the rumors that once surrounded her. She was an extraordinary actress, a devoted mother, a tireless activist, and a survivor of immense personal trials. While gossip has long attempted to define her, history increasingly recognizes the unfairness of those narratives. Taylor lived in an era that blurred boundaries, exploited youth, and rewarded sensationalism. Her life invites reflection not on scandal, but on resilience and accountability. When viewed with clarity and compassion, her story becomes one of endurance rather than controversy. Elizabeth Taylor remains unforgettable not because of whispered myths, but because she lived boldly, loved deeply, and faced her struggles with unflinching honesty.